Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Eat, Drink, and Be Merry show, where we love to talk about food, drink, recipes, and techniques, and where to shop, taste, and play. Let's go. So welcome, everyone. Today is October 10th, 2025, and we are celebrating World Egg Day with Jeffrey Spear, who's a food writer, an author, a world traveler, and talking about being an author, he is the award-winning author of My Life in Gluttony, Culinary Adventure. It's got recipes in it and a bit of a memoir, travel memoir, and just really a lot of culinary adventures around the world. So in that vein, we're also celebrating National Cookbook Month, and I encourage you to go to his website, spearwrites.com. You can also find his book on Amazon. I encourage you to get it. As you know, Nancy and I travel the world, or not the world, the country full time. I don't know if you can see this, but I carry his book with me. So that's how good it is. So it's World Egg Day, but because eggs are every day, they're like, we use them all the time for all kinds of dishes, whether they're sweet, savory, or for breakfast, or in like soufflés, or maybe if you get Jeff's book, My Life in Gluttony, you can get his recipe for Scotch eggs if you want to go over to, the British Isles. Jeff, welcome. Is that a heck of an introduction? Happy Egg Day.
Happy Egg Day to you.
And to living a life of gluttony.
Always.
I love that you're doing the show after tasting tequila and in the morning. This is great.
What was interesting is I tasted tequila this morning because I got these samples from a producer. But 2 days ago, I'm working on a story about nutritional beverages. And we're talking about non-alcoholic cocktails and things you can add to cocktails, eggs being one of them.
Oh.
But anyway, 2 days ago, I'm developing these cocktails. I'm doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning. And the one that I came up with was really tasty. So I brought it into the office and I'm sipping away on this passion fruit martini thing at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was great.
He's living a good life. Now, eggs are supposed to be really good for us. And I was thinking about this, it's so interesting about the evolution of food, which you've written about for years, right? Is how, a lot of times peasant food becomes the culinary dishes of a place. And I was thinking about how accessible eggs have been over the years around the world, like whether or not you're raising chickens, but like maybe quail, ducks, that's something that was easy for back in the hunter-gatherer years, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, eggs have been a source of a nutritional source for, I think, forever. People have been eating them, whether they're chicken eggs or other eggs. They've been popular.
Yeah, and they do, all kinds of, and then some of them are fermented, I think.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that. There's fermented. They're the they're the ramen eggs that are soaked in soy sauce and whatever else, and the yolk is not quite fully hard. I haven't played around with that. I eat them when I go out and have ramen, and I like them. But it's just one of those applications. Them floating in a bowl of ramen, it's good stuff.
Well, I was thinking also like in France, France seems to use eggs a lot. I was thinking like soufflés and the baking, and like every time I was thinking about even like eggs Benedict. I don't know quite where that was like a royal thing, right? The Benedict.
There were a lot of dishes that were royal because people couldn't afford a lot of the foods. Things like sugar and chocolate. When reading about foods, all the various exploration that went off around the world and what they brought back on these ships, they were so limited. Spices were so limited in supply that every history book you find out that it was the food of the rich and famous. The royals and their friends and anybody that had money. I remember when I was writing about the sugar, because that was not something that was widely available in the 1600s. And it used to be something that the very wealthy consumed because they could, and their teeth would rot. And there were people that started painting their teeth to look like they were rotting to imply that they were also rich.
Wow. Yeah. They need to eat some eggs. That'll help them with their nutrition, right? So do you think they knew about nutrition way back when? Like this was healthy? I mean, they could feel it in their bodies, right? Because it's a good protein.
Today.
Yeah.
I mean, I go into Whole Foods and look at some of the stuff that's there. And it's like, give me a break. Look, I understand the science, the food science, but if I were to stand up, you'd see that I am not lacking for nutrition.
Me neither. I enjoy my food and I enjoy my wine and cocktails. So it's just not, well, you know what? We all make our choices. That's how I look at it, But eggs, I think sometimes we forget, we tend to think of fried eggs for breakfast, and that's where it stays. You know what I mean? Or omelets, but it goes far beyond that, what we
Yeah,
can do
well,
with an egg.
from a
Yeah.
nutritional perspective,
Yeah.
there are a couple of things. I have notes here, so if I'm looking off to the side, I'm looking at my notes.
Or he's drinking a cocktail.
Eggs are an excellent source of protein. In preparing for today, I found out that the issues of cholesterol, eggs actually have good cholesterol, and it's not the stuff that you need to worry about too much. Uh, High in protein, high in vitamin B12, 9 essential amino acids. And one thing that I wasn't aware of, but choline apparently is a substance that's important for brain health, and it's also important for fetal brain development. And
Oh.
I didn't know about choline. That was something new to me. But I like eggs, and so getting the nutritional side of them, it's like, great, bring it on.
Well, the cholesterol, now I've done shows on this with Dr. Jackie Ubani. He's a cardiologist. We have a heart healthy show, Lifestyle, and we talk about eggs all the time. I always like, come on now. She goes, listen, if you want an egg omelet and you have heart disease or a heart issue or high blood pressure, go for the egg whites. Take the yolk out. The yolk is the naughty part. But you can have an egg a day. I went vegan for a while. Don't pass out, Jeff. But I did it when I first got to this country because I was not used to foods having preservatives and chemicals and things. So my body was like, what the hell is this? Like, what's going on? And so I went vegan to kind of purify my body. And then I learned that that's not working. And basically the doctor's like, you can be vegan, but
Yeah.
eat eggs and don't do hydrogenated oils. And I'm like, what the hell's that? Like everything was so, I came out of Africa where butter is on the shelf and there's one butter. There's, here's rice, here's eggs, and so it was very healthy at that time. So I learned that the eggs really helped in getting the right protein because I don't have time to play, let's sit all day and make smoothies to make proteins and all of that. I didn't have time. So eggs saved my butt.
Yeah.
You know.
And one of the other things that I was looking into is, so I lived in Australia for a little while. In Australia, when you get a hamburger, we talked about this once before, but there, and this is before the fried egg on top of things started, but over
Mhm.
there, it was typical that if you got a burger, there was a fried egg on top. And
So that
nowadays, there are fried eggs on lots of things. But what I found that was interesting is how many different applications there are, how many different dishes that are using eggs in a way we don't think about. The one that really got me started on this whole subject matter is I go to Chicago every year for the National Restaurant Association show, and I have a friend that lives there, and we go out, and
Mhm.
he and I can eat all day long nonstop. And we drink. He's my best buddy. He's my best drinking buddy in the Northern Hemisphere. But anyway, he took me to this place called Egg Tuck. And Egg Tuck is an egg-centric, fast casual restaurant, small, and they make these egg sandwiches that are inspired by Korean egg sandwiches, which are popular street food in Korea. And these sandwiches, the texture, it's a scrambled egg. The texture was different. It was creamier, it was looser, but these sandwiches were surprisingly good. And so after I found out about that, I was like, well, what else are people doing with eggs?
What was the bread like? What was the bread for the
I
sandwich?
seem to recall it was a brioche of some sort.
Was it
Uh,
toasted?
no, it was,
Oh,
if it was toasted, the softness of the eggs and everything else
so this was
defeated the
a
purpose.
soft luxury kind of.
Yeah, it was, when I first had it, I wasn't sure I liked it. And the more I thought about it after the fact, going, I need to do that again.
Oh.
And they have different combinations. It's like the egg McMuffin. You can
Mhm.
get it with it's just the egg and cheese, or you can get it with sausage, or you can get it with bacon. And these are Korean variations.
Wow.
And they have one with bulgogi beef, and it's just really cool stuff. And so then I started looking into it, and then I started finding out there's this craze in Japan for egg salad sandwiches, and you get them from 7-Eleven. I don't know what's so special about these sandwiches. When I see pictures, they look like the sandwiches you see in the refrigerator case in airports, because they're in
Oh
that little
yeah.
shape, and it's the triangle, and it's wrapped. But anyway, apparently these 7-Eleven sandwiches in Japan are, from what I hear, special.
Ah.
Then I found out that there's this restaurant in Bardstown, Kentucky called the Bar at Willett, and they make arguably the best egg salad sandwich ever. And they make things where the presentations are very nicely done, very artfully
Mhm.
presented. I saw this picture of, and I went, is that the egg salad sandwich? And it was, and it didn't look like what I expected because it's the way it was cut. And apparently, first off, when you're talking about Southern food, and this is Kentucky, if you're using mayonnaise, you're using Dukes.
That's right.
And
I
Dukes,
know from
it's a
South
thing in the
Carolina.
South.
South Carolina,
Yeah.
and it's a whole deal. And I love the history of that. That woman that helped. Yes, sorry, I get excited about it.
A lot of people get excited about Dukes. I mean, that's what I use now. I finally weaned myself off of Hellman's and off of Kraft, but now I use Dukes. But this egg salad sandwich, it's made with Dukes, but they smoke it. So it's got this smoke flavor. How they do that, I'm not sure. They make an egg jam, and they have salt cured egg yolk and nutritional yeast and chives, and it sounds really interesting. And if I ever get over to Bardstown, you better believe I'm going to go into this bar.
Oh, wow.
And have this egg salad sandwich.
With a Bloody Mary.
It's bourbon country.
No, that's right. Yeah. With bourbon country. So old-fashioned, maybe, Is it old-fashioned or old-fashioned?
Old-fashioned.
Okay. Yeah. I had to make sure. Well, you're the expert on this. So I love this different sandwich types because we're so used to the old school egg salad. And how do you feel about deviled eggs?
Well, so that was going to be the next. So I live here in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is within Florida, it is still the South. And so deviled eggs are everywhere. There's this restaurant. The chef is a guy named Tom Gray, and Tom's a very talented chef. And he used to have a restaurant called Moxie's, and he for legal reasons he couldn't use the name, and so he's changed the restaurant. It's now an Italian restaurant. But when he had Moxie's, he had this deviled egg sampler, and I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 deviled eggs, and each one was topped with something different, and it was so much fun to adventure through all these different flavors. Well, when I make deviled eggs, that's what I do. I put different flavors, different things on it. The last one I made was fried chicken with Mike's Hot Honey on a deviled egg.
That sounds good.
But there's this place in Denison, Texas. It's called the Deviled Egg Co. or Deviled Egg Company. Oh. And I think the website is deviledeggco.com. They make nothing but deviled egg. I'm
going there in a few days.
Okay, go.
I'm serious.
And
yes.
So anyway, they have these varieties like deep fried crab rangoon. They have a walking taco, a cheeseburger, and a cinnamon roll. These are all varieties of deviled egg. And then apparently they also put the deviled egg mix in jars. So if you don't get the eggs, you can carry it in the jar. But
that's wild.
These places sound fabulous. And I think they have 2 locations in and around that area. So go online, deviledeggco.com, and see where it is. I'm envious that you can get it.
Okay. Because we're going to be in that region if all goes as planned.
Yeah.
But and it is on the Jefferson Highway. I like that. That's a big tie for what we're doing. I wanted to ask you about deviled eggs for you. Now, everyone makes things different. Are you using pickles, like pickle relish and mayonnaise? And what's your favorite topping? And don't people put caviar on deviled eggs?
Yes, people like me.
Okay.
So the standard recipe for a deviled egg is the egg yolks and pickle relish or sweet pickle relish or the juice, just the juice from. I chop it up really fine, so when I put it in a bag and squeeze it out.
Oh.
And
I'll make it all pretty.
If I don't chop it up really fine, it doesn't go through the nozzle. But for me, it's just the eggs, mayonnaise, pickle juice, sometimes really finely chopped celery.
Mustard,
thank you.
You have to have the mustard.
Yeah, mustard. But the art of it is trying different things. And so it's like, okay, just like what this Deviled Egg Co. does. I mean, I get inspiration from them. If I'm looking for ideas, I'll go to their website and go play around with that. But I've made them with, I squeeze out the egg yolk filling, but then I did one with caviar, but I put a little bit of sour cream and a little bit of caviar. Sometimes it's the black, sometimes it's the red, it depends what, it's color, so what do you want to do? I've done it with bacon.
Yes.
I think those are the 3 that I've done the most. I'm now at the point where it's like, if I'm going to serve them again, I need to get more creative. So what exactly I'm going to do, I don't know.
I'm getting really thirsty for a Bloody Mary the more we keep talking. I don't know what it is, but I just like deviled eggs, Bloody Mary, fried eggs, Bloody Mary, eggs, Bloody Mary. We're all talking Bloody Mary right now.
We might have to organize an intervention at some point in time, but we can talk about that off camera.
But I just kind of feel like right now I want a Bloody Mary because I feel like I can taste all these eggs right now. This is good stuff. Okay, so deviled eggs, all these nice toppings. Would you do that as like a part of a brunch party? Like have the deviled eggs with different toppings,
So, yes. However, would I? No, because I don't really entertain that early in the day.
Busy craving the cocktail.
Lunch is not a thing that I tend to do. I like dinner parties because, then it's, we can bring out the cocktails. We can, get inventive, get creative. There aren't any limitations. A lot of people, I mean, that drink I made the other day with the passion fruit was really good, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going, I don't care. This is good. I'm going to drink it. I knew I had a winner, but there are people that will not drink. They won't drink at noon. They won't drink at 2. They got to wait until 4 and 5 or 6. Sometimes like, no, I've done overnight parties, especially Thanksgiving. And it's like, we're all there all day long. And so we start early, the first person up, it's like, all right, who's making the drink?
Well, some people can't, maintain through, it's us that are practiced that can do that. But I wanted to ask too, talking about entertaining with eggs, like doing something like a dinner party. Would you do a soufflé for a dinner party? Because wouldn't that be scary?
No, you could. Soufflés and I'm not much of a baker, and so that's not something I'm practiced in. But
that's technical.
I will do things that are crepe based. So what is it, manicotti? I make them with homemade pancakes or making crepes. One of my favorite foods when I was working in Serbia was what they call, it's the same thing as the French crepe, but in Serbia they're called palashinke, which means pancake. And they have all these street vendors that serve them. And when I was walking around, I knew I would look inside the stalls to see if they had the round cake thing where you twirl the batter. And any place that had that, I'm going back. I'm going to go. And so
South Africa, it's the same. It's the same
and
thing.
So, but I like them with getting the pancakes with mushrooms and sour cream or chicken and cheese and but they're not, once you start playing with it a little bit and they're not that hard, but I like to make other things with eggs. Some of the international stuff that I've been exposed to has me now making new dishes. Again, and Chicago tends to be one of the places where I really go out and experiment the most. I went to a Malaysian restaurant and there's this dish called nasi goreng, which is rice and it's with shrimp, and it's a really good dish. And I used to have it when I lived in Australia because we had good Malaysian restaurants there. But I'm at this restaurant, I'm having this stuff, and I go, this is really good. And I go, why am I just limiting myself to visits to Chicago? I can make this. And so I've researched and I found ways to make it. And there's always a fried egg on top.
See?
And so it's a good thing. And then I learned about pizzas. Some places just put fried egg on pizza, but there were two that I didn't know about. One is called, they're both Italian. One's called a Florentine, which has white sauce, spinach, and eggs. And another one is a Bismarck, and that's tomato sauce, mozzarella, prosciutto, and eggs. This stuff sounds great.
That sounds like Bloody Mary material again.
There you go.
Sorry. Because the breakfast thing, like living in Mexico, eggs it's whether or not you wanted eggs with it. So one of my favorite dishes was chilaquiles. And there's once in a blue moon, I find a restaurant here that really, it has to be a authentic Mexican restaurant that just does it right. And the sauces compared with the chili verde and all that. But chilaquiles, they would put an egg on, and it was just always like this perfect thing. Like huevos rancheros, when you have that, the way they do the eggs, I don't know, it just is it's like perfectly cooked for exactly what that meal, how the run of the yolk, they know how to make the yolk. I don't know. I'm not that good at that.
What you're experiencing with that dish is the same thing with the ramen eggs. I've never taken the time. I have a formula that I use and it works for my eggs. And so it's what I do all the time. But if you're really going to do these ramen eggs, you need to experiment in your own home, because see how you work in your house, and boil them for so much time and then cool them and crack them open and see how they work, and do
Oh,
different increments of time so you can see how the yolk either sets or doesn't. And then once you
oh,
know what the exact time is, so if you bring the water to a boil first and then put the egg in, or if you put the egg in cold water and
oh,
then bring it up, you know, but it's trial and
oh.
error to find the perfect.
So they're doing that and not frying them then. Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
these are hard-boiled eggs.
Okay, with the huevos rancheros and chili chilies, it's like
Yeah,
a fried egg, but maybe more, what do you call it for like eggs Benedict, poached, but
mhm.
it still has a little sizzle. It's like a poached fried egg. I don't know how they do it, but when it's done right, it is the most,
Practice.
yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
And, talking about stuff like this, then I learned about it through an Israeli restaurant, but it's a Middle Eastern,
Oh,
North African dish called shakshuka. Have you had
uh-huh.
that? It's
No.
fabulous. It's this tomato capsicum sauce,
Okay.
and they make up, it's a very flavorful sauce.
Oh,
And then they put fried eggs in it. And the place that I've had it here locally, they always put some cilantro on top, and it's wonderful. And it's a
sounds like my
breakfast
style.
food, breakfast or a brunch food.
I have a friend who is Jewish, and we pet sit for her. And every morning before she flies, she goes, "I'm making breakfast. Have I served this to you before? I already know what's coming." Because she's like, "I have to eat this because I'm going to be gone for 2, 3 weeks. I'm going to miss it." And it's scrambled eggs with matzo in it, matzo crackers.
Matzo brie.
Okay.
Some
And
people call it matzo brie. Other people call it fried matzo.
it's good. It is good. And
Yeah.
Nancy and I always sit there and she's like, "Have I served this to you before? We already know what's for breakfast."
Whenever Passover's rolling around, like when I'm in the grocery store, I see the matzo. And I
Okay.
go, do I want to make fried matzo this year? Because it's the only time I make it. It's if I see the stuff in the grocery store. Yeah.
Well, this is all these different breakfasts, but there's so many meals. Obviously, there's baking with eggs, right? And that's a huge deal. But the actual meals, there's so many things that eggs go into, you know?
Absolutely. Well, because eggs, they're thicken. They add texture. They're emulsifiers. They are what's the word I'm looking for?
They put things together. They stick.
You create custards with it. So if we're talking about foods that you eat, let me give you an idea about foods that you drink with eggs in it. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's one of them. But I was in conversation. There's this very, very informed guy over at the American Egg Board. Name is Nelson Serrano Bari, and he's a chef. And I've never spoken to a chef that knows so much, because he's at the Egg Board. Everything we're talking about eggs, and he just rattles off all these different recipes and applications and this and that. But what he told me about is that there's this Vietnamese egg coffee that the egg is used to thicken
Oh,
it. You might know about gin fizzes.
okay. Yeah.
There's coffee sabayon. I know about it. I'm not quite sure where the egg fits in on that, but I know about it. And then there's sours and different kinds of fizzes. There's a pisco sour, a whiskey sour. All of these, more recently, people aren't putting the eggs in because they're worried about the health issues. But what I've learned, and Chef Nelson clued me in on this, there are ultra pasteurized eggs. They're whole eggs, and they're pasteurized in shell, which means
Oh,
that you
wow.
get egg. They're a little more expensive, so you have to be judicious about how you use them. But this way, because there's theater when you're making a cocktail, the theater is when you crack an egg into the cocktail, or
That's
you
right.
crack the egg and you strain the white, and
Yeah.
whichever you're using. And so if you can get these pasteurized in shell eggs, then you
Mm.
can still do that sort of presentation. That's very cool. But there are all these different drinks. When I was doing the recipe testing, when I came up with the passion fruit thing, I tried making one with an egg white in it, and the aesthetics of it, I couldn't get it to go where I wanted it to go, so I bailed on that one. But then I came up with another one, and I said, "Oh, I think this one works."
It's a sad life, but the egg thing, I remember the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Sorry, it goes back to the whole,
I don't remember it.
no, there's an egg thing because I can't remember the words because normally I know every word in that. It is a bodybuilding thing in there.
Oh.
So the eggs would be part of like,
How many eggs did he crack into the glass?
yeah, it was like Rocky. Yeah. And he just had his eggs to make him anyway, we shouldn't be detouring off to the Rocky Horror Picture
Yeah, but
Show.
now I'm doing just a step to the left.
After this, just an egg to the right. But the eggs, because people would take eggs anyway. Don't get me started on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was the last cover of our magazine in South Africa, was the Rocky
Earworm.
Horror Picture Show. I know, that's going to stick with you all day. But it was about having eggs in the protein shakes in the mornings, and people used to do that. Now people are doing protein powders and stuff like that. Some people
Yeah.
do like egg beaters, and there's like vegan egg stuff that you can use. I don't
Oh,
never got into any of that, but
I'm
people
seeing
do that.
egg wraps now. They're these,
Yes.
and they're very cool because you use
Mhm.
them in place. It's really good if you're dealing with gluten-free, because
Okay.
you don't use a tortilla anymore. You use these egg wraps. And I keep, every time I go to the trade shows that I go to, I always look at what's happening in plant-based. And I've seen these things that look like poached eggs. When you cut into them, the yolk goes in.
Yeah, really?
They're plant-based.
Wow.
They
But I
look
think
like
this
eggs.
is huge. A lot of people are getting away from meat, and it's to do environmentally, culturally, health-wise. Everybody's got a different thing of what they want to do. Like when I went vegan, it really helped. But then I knew like I needed protein, and doctors like, just have an egg or two a day. And if you can't play cooking as much as, with our schedule, that's what was, do that. But I will tell you, I ate a lot of beans and rice because it makes a perfect protein. But if you have beans and rice left over, that's what you have for breakfast, and you use eggs as a scramble to scramble it all up. And I do
And
that
cheese.
yeah, I know. See, this is why I can't be a vegan. It's the cheese. It is cheese and bacon.
Cheese.
To fix any kind of leftover almost. Even if it's pasta, I will fry eggs up, scramble it up with eggs, and have it for breakfast. Now, did I freak you out again? But I do. It's good.
What's the pasta with? It's with egg yolk and bacon, and I'm just having a mind blow.
What? Really? This sounds
Oh,
good.
it is good, and it's a common dish, and I'm just
Wow. I've never heard of it. And it's
carbonara.
Oh, I need to have that.
Is fabulous. You cook up the noodles, and then you got the bacon and Parmesan and egg
Oh,
yolk,
boy.
and it's wonderful.
And it goes well with Bloody Mary.
Actually,
Well,
I would for this, I would break out a glass.
wine. Yeah, wine. Well, the egg too. Like you talked about pizza, and I think we talked about that on the pizza show. And by the way, everybody, it's Italian Heritage Month, so everything we're talking about, we're right in tune with all the holidays for October. But and I can tell you. Okay, speaking of October holidays, I got something to do with eggs on that. But leftover pizza, we heat it up, and you put an egg on top, and you got to kind of partially steam it. So if you fried it before, I was trying to. Nancy has it down to a science, but I screw it up. But I learned her trick is you heat the pizza up a little bit first, then you put your egg on top, and because you want the yolk is she just puts a lid over the frying pan to kind of steam that. So it's like moist, and it's not some hard rubber thing, and you don't want to ruin the pizza, but it's delicious.
And I have to tell you that only because you're talking about food holidays, for me, every month is let's eat whatever we can find month.
Okay, well done. Okay, so Halloween, we used to have cadaver parties. Well, back in the day, we used to throw big theme parties, and now we're on the road, so we can't do that to people's houses as we pet sit. But cadaver parties, you'd turn the lights off for Halloween parties, and there would be a bowl that would pass around, and people would put their hand in the bowl, and like if it was a bowl of spaghetti, and say, oh, this is the brain, like a cauliflower is a good brain or whatever, different parts of the body. You didn't have to guess what it was. So, 2 deviled eggs, you know what that is. I had to go there. Sorry, but it is, we're talking eggs. No one ate them at the end, but
Well, not
eggs
after
can be
everybody's
used for
been mushing their hands in it.
No. They're not there. By the time they're done, they're done. They're scrambled and crumbled and deviled. And then speaking of that, deviled eggs for Halloween parties, that's kind of cool.
Well, look, you can get creative with coloring and finding natural colors, because the statistics on what these chemical colors are doing it's just amazing, all the problems they create. But you can soak your eggs in beet juice and they go red or purple.
Yeah.
But you can do all kinds of things. And I'm sure that if you go online and you search deviled eggs for Halloween, all these ideas will come up.
Yeah. So eggs are it. What's your next egg dish that you're going to have?
Well, actually, the next dish, it's not an egg dish. I wrote a story about regional Chinese food, and we all know Cantonese, we know Szechuan, we know Hunan, but there are probably 10 other regional styles. China's a big place. And anyway, there is, when you get out to the the western side of China, it backs up against Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And so the Chinese food in that part of the country takes reference from a lot of Eastern European foods. And so there's this dish that is a cumin lamb with noodles. And I now have all the ingredients in the house, and that's my next recipe, is to make this cumin lamb dish.
Wow. And cumin is good. It's one of my favorite spices, That
But,
it's
yeah.
interesting.
But I don't play around with eggs so much. And I kind of have that in my vocabulary. And so really it's not, do I want to make the nasi lemak? Do I want to make...
But you did Scotch eggs. Let's talk about your Scotch eggs. It's in your book. Scotch eggs are, now that would also go with a Bloody Mary. Anyway, I have to make a Bloody Mary before the day's over. It means I have to run to the store, maybe not. But the Scotch eggs are good. Yeah. And I don't care what time of day. I don't.
So when I graduated from college, and this dates me, but the book at the time was Europe on $5 a day. That was the travel book at the time. Now, mind you, my hair was almost as long as yours, and I was a whole lot younger and none of the wrinkles. But anyway, the thing that you did when you graduated from college is you went to Europe. You backpacked.
Yep.
So that year when I went, so whoever published Europe on $5 a day, they reissued the book, and it was now Europe on $10 a day. But I was going there and I was trying to do this $5 or $10 a day and doing it on the cheap. And I got a cold and I was hungry. And so I had a proper meal and I said, oh, the hell with this $10 a day. I'm just going to eat. And so when I was in London, I experienced fabulous fish and chips. And then I went into, I think it's Harrods department store. Wow. Food court. Now, mind you,
this is not $5 a day stuff at all.
But mind you, I'm young and I hadn't really experienced food at all in a global sense. There's no internet.
Yeah.
And I go in and they have a food court, international food court, or an international food counter and shelves with the grocery items. And I'm looking at this stuff, and they had pastry things that I had never seen. And they had these orbs, these little fried looking orbs. And I was talking to the woman, I go, what is that? And she's looking at me, she's look, I'm a tourist. I got long hair, an American tourist. Got long hair, denim shirt, blue jeans, sneakers. I'm a typical American.
She's like, you hippie.
And she told me about Scotch eggs. And so I said, I had one of those and I had a pasty, which is like
oh my God, I love pasties.
So, but anyway, I had this Scotch egg thing and I've been having them ever since. And just like with the nasi lemak, where I said, I don't need to go to a restaurant to eat this, I can learn how to make it. When I wrote about my London chapter, I wanted to talk about these Scotch eggs, because Scotch eggs and fish and chips, I mean, it's just great stuff. And I learned how to make a Scotch egg, and they're not.
It's in the book.
Yeah, they're not that hard. They're not for everybody to make, because it's time consuming, because it's all these steps. Yeah, they are. But fortunately, we've got a really good Irish pub just up the street. And so if I really want a Scotch egg, or if I really want shepherd's pie, if I want bangers and mash, I can go up there.
It's so funny. We just visited a really good friend who, she had a bed and breakfast, but in an organic farm in Southern California. She's retired from that now. And she was like, we went to go and see her, and she's like, Nancy, Lisa, do you guys eat lamb? No one wants to eat lamb with me. And I'm like, oh yeah, we eat lamb all the time in England, and South Africa. Lamb is everywhere. And you in Australia, you got to know. And she made this lamb shank thing that, oh my God, she was cooking this in a slow cooker the night we arrived there. And then we ate it the next night. Like, this was so tender and so, I don't know, it was so good. And she kept putting red wine and all kinds of mushrooms and things in it. It was delicious. Not anything for a Bloody Mary, but good wine. So do you find that in this country that some people shy away from lamb?
People shy away from all kinds of stuff. It's not just lamb.
Okay.
I don't eat this. I don't eat that. And these are the people that I don't invite to my dinner parties.
Okay. But the lamb was delicious. And I was like, this is, and
if it's made well, and if it's not gamey, some lamb it's a bit on the nose. But when it's made well, I don't cook with lamb here. I mean, this lamb and cumin dish that I'm making is because I'm trying the recipe. I want to see if it's really good. I don't typically cook with lamb at home, because I know that what I want is what I get at restaurants that really know how to make a leg of lamb or a lamb shank or something. let me let the pros do it. I know my limitations.
It's like me trying to cook goat. It's never going to happen. Goat can be good, but you have to eat it hot.
Yeah, and especially in Indian food. I
Yeah.
love the goat.
Yeah, it's curried up for a reason. I'm just saying. But I do want to tell people that you've got an article all about eggs. And it's linked in the episode notes for people to read because you get into everything on this. And so that was On the Edge. That was the magazine that it was in.
This is a National Culinary Review.
Oh, okay. Just I think it was a chapter thing that I saw on there. Okay.
Oh.
So for people to know where it's from, so everyone can check it out. But very cool. Anything you want to close with, and to close off with eggs before we egg somebody? That's another tradition.
Before we exit?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you did not. You didn't even say eggalicious. The jokes are really dumb on eggs. Yeah.
I think we've covered it all. I mean, the only other, there's one plug that I'll give. There's a fabulous Indian restaurant in Chicago called Thattu, Chattu. They make foods from the south part of India, specifically Kerala. Kerala is where it's coastal with a lot of seafood. But if you get over to Chicago and you go to Thattu, really great stuff. And they have a number of dishes that use eggs in them, and they're all worthwhile.
Wow, this is so cool.
We ordered almost one of everything when we were there, and what a great meal that was.
What's your favorite stuffing for an omelet? And do you put your stuffing on top?
No, it's not so much the stuffing. When I was in college, I had a cousin that would take me out. He moonlighted in a liquor store, and he would close it down on the weekends. And so he said, "Why don't you come out and close up the shop with me, and then we'll go out for what he called coffee end." So we go coffee end, and so we'd go to a Denny's or a diner or whatever it was, and we'd have coffee. And he turned me on to pecan pie. I had never had that because my mom doesn't like pecans, and I didn't know that until I had the pie. I said, "Ma, why aren't you making pecan pie?" "I don't like pecans." Okay. We went out and we had eggs with sausage gravy. And so when I make an omelet, for a long time, I was getting an omelet with ham and cheese, but I'd always drown it in sausage gravy.
Wow. Okay. This is just like me eating peanut butter on hamburgers and bacon.
Yeah, well, I've been researching burgers. The research is done. The story hasn't come out yet, but two different places had burgers with peanut butter, and I tried them. I think if you really like peanut butter, these are for you. The peanut butter got in the way of the burger and the bacon.
It's supposed to only do a little bit, and it's got to melt into it a little bit, and then the pickle is supposed to break it all. I just the burger show, you just kept going, no. Every time I opened my mouth, no.
Peanut butter on burgers, pineapple on pizza.
I do not like the peanut butter and the egg idea. That doesn't go well for me. No peanut butter. Unless you're putting it in a smoothie thing to be healthy. And if it's a smoothie for health, there's no way I'm doing it. My smoothie is a Bloody Mary.
No, the only reason peanut butter comes into my house is for when I make Asian peanut sauces.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Well, I do. Well, Jeff, thank you so much, everyone. SpearRights.com is the website, and My Life in Gluttony. It's never... there it is, kind of. Everyone, My Life in Gluttony, go get it. It is National Cookbook Month. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Great seeing you.
You too.
Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Eat, Drink, and Be Merry show. Keep up with our podcasts at bigblendradio.com and our magazines at bigblendmagazines.com.